The locked sky. We reached the calm tower just before curfew. It was a relic from the first Exodus, tall, skeletal, lined with rust and old prayer tags. Most of the relay dishes were shattered, but Kaeli said the uplink core might still have teeth. We climbed in through a fracture in the maintenance vent. Do you really think we can warn them? I asked, crawling after her. She didn't turn around. If they're awake, they'll hear us. We just have to push through the noise. The uplink room smelled like scorched metal and grease. I patched into the old deck while Kaeli set her hand over the interface plate. The system didn't ask for clearance, it just opened, like it recognized her. I monitored the outgoing burst. It wasn't words, it was patterns, embedded pulses only someone like her could read. A call across the spine of the grid, humming through invisible tunnels, and then the system responded, but not with words, with a timestamp, 4 hours 12 minutes and 38 seconds lock sequence engaged. Directive echo read. Primary hybrid ID matched. Kaeli looked at me, they were expecting this. Suddenly, the entire tower shuddered, the floor beneath us vibrated, and a high-pitched whine filled the air. Kaeli grabbed my arm. They're here. 3 echo drones smashed through the outer wall, moving faster than I'd ever seen. One tackled the console. Sparks flew. Another lunged for Kaeli. I grabbed the shock rod from my belt, something Jeren had given me just in case, and swung hard. The drone staggered back, but its claws scraped my side. I went down. Kaeli screamed, and then, she pushed, not with her hands, with her mind. A pulse ripped out from her chest, and all 3 drones froze mid-air, jerking violently, before slamming to the ground like puppets with their strings cut. I stared at her, stunned. What the hell was that? She was panting. I didn't know I could do that. We escaped through the lower shaft and ran for the western corridor. The tower collapsed behind us. We didn't look back. The grid lights flickered red. Lockdown. Later that night, Jeren came to see me. He didn't knock, just walked into the supply chamber where I was patching my arm. They gave me the key, he said quietly. I didn't answer. He dropped the data crystal on the floor between us. I didn't take it. I looked up. Why? Because you're my brother, he said. And because if I walked out, I wouldn't like who I'd be on the other side. At dawn, Senya's voice echoed through the entire grid. By order of the Grid Stability Act, all exits from this sector are sealed. Movement is restricted. Cooperation is expected. And just like that, our sky was gone, even the clouds above the dome flickered out. Only static remained. Kaeli found something strange that afternoon. In the burst data, right before the drones attacked, was a ghost fragment, a message stitched into the carrier wave, my name, and a voice, but not Kaeli's, not anyone we knew. It was me, Rael. If you're hearing this, it means I failed. Do not let them find the child. She is the key. They'll try to turn her against you. Whatever happens, don't trust the offer. I'm sorry. There's not much time. Then static. I sat there, holding my head. Kaeli crouched beside me. Rael. What did you hear? I looked at her, really looked, and in her eyes, I saw something ancient stirring. I think I just spoke to a version of myself that hasn't happened yet. Beneath the black glass, the corridor to sublevel 17 hadn't been used in decades. It was sealed behind triple-coded biometric locks and a false wall tagged as unstable. Jeren found the entry node buried beneath a cracked console in the old admin tower. He didn't speak the whole walk down. Kaeli followed behind me, her breathing uneven. Something was off with her again. Her skin had taken on a faint luminescence, barely visible, like bioluminescent threads under the surface. Her eyes had gone sharper. Hungrier. I tried not to look too long. We passed broken elevators, twisted pipes, silent drones hanging from rusted rails. The light faded. Then shifted, colors bending in unnatural hues. Violet. Green. Black. Almost there, Jeren muttered. I stopped him. Where does this lead? He hesitated. It's where they hid the ones that didn't work. Kaeli winced. The door to Sector 17C opened with a low hiss. Inside was a chamber unlike anything in the grid. Tall columns of frozen glass stretched toward the ceiling. Each one held a figure inside, some whole, some shattered. Some not entirely human. They were the prototypes, half-hybrids. Children. Adults. Failures, some had their faces covered. Others hadn't aged in years. Kaeli stepped toward one of the tubes, hand raised. Her fingers trembled. I feel them, she whispered. I scanned the logs. Names, DNA strings, error codes, test subject 9A, cognitive collapse, test subject 12F, heart failure during neural overwrite, test subject 13R, alive. Status, unstable. My chest tightened. There was one tube still powered. One life signal still pulsing faintly behind the glass, a boy, maybe 15. Pale, thin, barely moving. Tubes in his arms. His head tilted as if listening. Kaeli leaned in, then jerked back. He hears me, she whispered, eyes wide. The lights flickered, then died. The emergency beacon strobed red. Jeren pulled his sidearm. Movement. Multiple signals. I felt it too, metal grinding. Static in my teeth. A presence entering the room, not through the door, but through the walls. Kaeli stepped in front of the still-living boy. They're coming for him. That's when we saw them. 3 Hunter-class Echo drones crawled down the walls like spiders, sleek, segmented, too fast. Their eyes pulsed with red targeting beams. No searchlights. No warnings. These weren't for surveillance, they were for extermination. I fired first. Hit one in the chest. It absorbed the shot like fog. Jeren swore, ducked behind a console, fired again. One drone leapt at me. Kaeli screamed, then unleashed another pulse. But this time, it didn't work. The drone staggered, paused, then recalibrated. They're learning, I said, heart racing. One drone reached the boy's tube and raised its arm to shatter the glass. Kaeli didn't move, she didn't blink, she sang. The sound I'd never heard before came from her throat, layered, harmonic, inhuman. The glass melted, the boy opened his eyes, and the drones stopped. One by one, they powered down. Collapsed. Dead. Kaeli dropped to her knees, blood trickling from her nose. The boy looked at her. Then at me. You're late, he said, voice hoarse. I helped Kaeli up. Who are you? He gave a tired smile. I was the last one they couldn't erase. The place where signals go to die. We took him to the forgotten habitat, that's what we called it. An old transit dome collapsed during the Exodus collapse. Most thought it was sealed. But if you knew the drainage routes, and if you weren't afraid to crawl on your stomach through 200 meters of bone-dry waterline, it was still there. The space opened like a cavern, cracked metal arches. Glass ceiling ruptured by tree roots. Empty benches. Ads that hadn't glowed in a century. A flickering sign still read outbound, Sector Starling. Kaeli sat with the boy near an old mineral spring. She looked thinner. Quieter. Her skin shimmered faintly under the dim light like it couldn't decide if it belonged to a human body or not. Jeren paced in circles, his rifle strapped to his chest like he expected the walls to crawl open. Any of this feel real to you? He muttered, no, I said. And we're just getting started. The boy leaned forward. He had those two sharp eyes, like Kaeli's. Like something had been left running in the back of his mind for too long. They buried us because they couldn't shut us down, he said. The early versions failed. I didn't. But I wouldn't obey. Kaeli rubbed her temples. There's something in me. Something waking up. You're the last key, he said. They tuned your DNA to an ancient signal. A fallback transmission. That's why you can hear the voice. What voice? I asked. Kaeli looked at me, haunted. It started whispering after the tower. But it's not just a voice. It's memory. It feels like everything I could have been, but never was. The boy nodded. It's calling you outside the grid. Toward the black edge. Jeren stopped pacing. What the hell is the black edge? The boy's gaze turned cold. It's where the code runs out. Where the truth starts bleeding through. We didn't get time to process it, because then we heard her, not through the walls. Not through the air. Through the grid itself, Senya's voice, broadcast into every hallway, every chamber, every unshielded frequency like a judgment bell. This is Warden Senya of Grid 9 West, effective immediately. Any citizen found communicating, sheltering, or aiding hybrid anomalies will be processed under Directive Eclipse. Echo-class threats are no longer theoretical. They are here. Among you, this is not a test, this is a purge. I looked at Jeren. How long before they trace this place? Not long, he said grimly. Kaeli didn't move. She was shivering, like a storm was building inside her, and then she said it, they're not just hunting me. They're trying to overwrite me. She turned to the boy. Can I stop it? He didn't answer. He just handed her something, a fragment of black metal, shaped like a seed. It pulsed with a low-frequency hum, like it was echoing from deep underground. Jeren stared at it. What is that? The boy replied without emotion. The first key. The part of her they didn't erase. The part they couldn't find. Kaeli closed her hand around it, and something changed in the air, like the world took a breath. The signal beneath the bones. We moved before sunrise, or what passed for sunrise beneath the grid. You could never tell exactly what time it was down there, not with the sky sealed off, and the overhead lights flickering on some forgotten schedule set by dead engineers. The boy led the way through a split bulkhead, down into an old magrail tunnel no one had used in a generation. Jeren scouted ahead, rifle tight in his grip. Kaeli walked beside me, quiet, her hand still wrapped around the black metal seed. She hadn't spoken since last night. I could feel her pulling inward. Listening for something the rest of us couldn't hear. How far is this next site? I asked the boy. 4 junctions down. We'll pass through Camp 3 on the way. They won't like visitors, Camp 3. He nodded. The ones who stayed off-grid. They think the grid is a cage built on the bones of gods. Jeren snorted up ahead. Sounds like my kind of lunatics. The tunnel curved downward. The walls were lined with rotted cable and old maintenance tags, half of them in languages nobody spoke anymore. Every few meters, a rusted drone chassis sat crumpled like forgotten puppets. Kaeli touched one gently as we passed. It sparked under her fingers and made a noise, like a low, digital hum. The boy turned sharply. Don't touch anything that remembers. What does that mean? I asked. He didn't answer. By the time we reached the outer ring of Camp 3, we were being followed. Not by drones, by watchers. You could feel their eyes more than see them. Shapes just beyond the light. Dust shifted overhead. Someone whispered something in a language that sounded half-sung, half-prayed. A voice called out from the dark, "Step forward and be weighed." A woman emerged from the shadows. She wore a tattered coat of mesh steel and glowing fabric strips. Her skin had circuit ink etched into her jaw and down her neck. Her eyes were augmented, gold-lit, unnerving. "You've brought a tether blood here," she said, staring at Kaeli. Kaeli stepped forward. Calm. Pale. Quiet. "She's one of the last," the boy said. "And the system wants her gone." The woman looked her over like she was inspecting a machine, or a prophecy. "There were stories," she murmured. "About the signal walking in skin. We thought it was myth." "It's not," Kaeli said, her voice low. "It's waking up." They led us into the camp. It was a sprawl of tents built from scavenged solar sails, ancient projectors used for heat, and repurposed screen panels showing static that looped like firelight. Dozens of families huddled together, watching Kaeli as if she were an omen made flesh. In the center was a monolith, a broken server tower, cracked open like a tree trunk, with bones arranged at its base. Some human. Some not. The woman approached the tower and pressed her hand to the metal. Before the system, there were voices. Songs in the code. We called them the Beneath Signal. We think your girl's carrying one. Kaeli looked at the bones. "I don't want to be anything's weapon," she said softly. "Doesn't matter what you want," the woman said. "The grid's already chosen the shape of your war." We left Camp 3 just before curfew bells sounded. Low, bone-deep pulses carried through the tunnels. Jeren pulled me aside. His voice was tense. "She's changing faster than we can track. I don't know if we're helping her or feeding the fire." "We don't have a choice," I said. "If she is the key, we either walk her to the door. Or watch her burn it down." The boy stopped at a data vault half buried in stone. A glyph shimmered on the outer shell, same shape as the metal seed Kaeli carried. He looked back at us. "This is where the second key sleeps," he said. "And what happens when we find it?" Kaeli asked. His voice was cold. "Then the voice inside you gets a body." The second key, the vault opened with sound, not a hiss. Not a crack, it sang, low. Hollow. Like breath through bone. It vibrated down my spine and made my teeth itch. Kaeli stepped forward first, holding the metal seed. As she moved, the glyphs along the door shimmered, matching her pace, pulsing like heartbeats. The air turned cold, the boy stayed behind. He wouldn't come any closer. There's something in there, he whispered. Not a machine. Not a person. Something in between. We went inside. The chamber was spherical, smoothed by old machines and time. At the center was a suspension rig, half scaffold, half shrine, holding a single human shape inside a column of light. It was a woman. Or what used to be one. Her body was wrapped in mesh lines and ceramic neural chains. Hair drifted like fine thread through the preservation field. Her eyes were closed. But her fingers twitched as if dreaming. Kaeli stopped beside her and whispered, "Who is she?" The vault answered, Unit 0 Astra. Core resonant hybrid. Status, memory state active. Pulse integrity, 87%. Do not engage unless synchronization approved by command. I don't need command, Kaeli said quietly. She's already in my head. Her voice was different now. Not louder, not colder, just deeper. Like someone else was standing beside her, speaking in unison. Kaeli, I said carefully, what are you feeling? She didn't answer. She touched the column, and then everything broke open. I saw her life flash into Kaeli's body, memories. Fragments. Buried code, a city built in sunlight. Now dead, children grown in tanks, a war fought before this one, lost before it began. Kaeli's mouth moved. Not her voice. Astra's, echo directive. Failed. Last child. Signal must continue. She will become the bridge. Her back arched. Her eyes flew open, glowing white. She screamed, and the rig cracked. The whole room shook like something ancient was waking. Then. Stillness. Kaeli collapsed into my arms. I held her, but she felt heavier, not physically. Spiritually, like she was no longer just one person anymore. Footsteps. Jeren burst into the chamber, rifle drawn. We've got incoming. Senya's drones, they found the trail. How many? I asked. He didn't even hesitate. All of them. The boy swore and pulled a small core flare from his belt. You have to go now. There's a maintenance shaft behind the outer conduit. It drops into the old flood lines. What about you? I asked. He didn't meet my eyes. They'll take me. But they won't find her. That's the deal. No, I started, but he was already moving, already sealing the door behind us. We ran. The shaft was slick with condensation and static discharge. Kaeli moved slower now, shaking, clutching her head. She's still in there, she whispered. That woman. She saw the end. She saw me. Is she controlling you? No. But she's guiding me. Jeren slid a ladder down. This flood line will lead us back to the grid perimeter, but if the drones cut through faster than expected, we'll be boxed in. What happens if they catch us? He looked at Kaeli. They won't take her alive. That's what Senya wants least, a free hybrid making contact. Then we don't give her the chance. Kaeli looked at me, and for the first time since this started, I saw something terrifying. Resolve, not fear. Not confusion. She knew what she was now, and she wasn't running anymore. The voice in the wire. We hit the flood tunnels hard. Slippery, narrow, reeking of rust and old coolant. Water dripped from overhead pipes like clockwork. Every echo sounded like footsteps that weren't ours. Kaeli led. I stayed close. Behind us, muffled shouts, metallic crashes, the unmistakable drone hum of Senya's hunter class. They weren't searching anymore. They were tracking. The old grid maps said this tunnel ran all the way to the maintenance interchange near South Wall. But the maps were lies. Half the path was collapsed, the rest flooded in places too deep to cross. We're boxed, Jeren muttered. They'll corner us in here. Kaeli stopped walking. Her head tilted, like she was listening to something none of us could hear. Then she raised a hand and pointed toward a hatch on the left. There. It's locked, Jeren said, not to me. She touched the panel. No code. No override. Just her presence. The hatch opened like it had been waiting years to see her. We stepped inside. The chamber beyond was old, older than anything we'd seen. Smooth obsidian walls with embedded conduits pulsing faint blue. A data altar sat in the center, part organic, part machine, like it had been grown rather than built. Kaeli moved toward it. That's when we heard her, Senya's voice. Not over a speaker. Not broadcast through the grid, she was speaking directly into Kaeli's mind. You finally found your origin, little signal. Do you understand now? You were never theirs. You were ours. Kaeli staggered back, hands to her ears. Get out of my head. But the voice was calm. Cold. Soothing in a way that made your skin crawl. You are not a child. You are a protocol. Born in failure. Forged in war. There was no mother. No father. Only design. I moved to Kaeli's side, but she pushed me away, not cruelly. Desperately, she's not lying, Kaeli whispered. I can feel it. Astra, she remembers. Remember what? I asked. Kaeli looked up. That Senya was there when I was made. The wall behind the altar pulsed once and slid open. A long tunnel stretched beyond. Lined with dormant drone shells. But they weren't standard class. They were shaped differently, humanoid, Jeren swore. Those aren't drones. Those are echo suits. Interface armor. I asked. No, he said. They're puppets. For people who don't want to be people anymore. Kaeli stepped forward. She's trying to show us something. Or she's baiting you, Jeren snapped. Kaeli turned slowly. Her eyes were glowing faint white now, not like before. This time, they were steady. Controlled. I don't care. I need to see. The corridor ended in a mirror. Not glass, data. It shimmered with old memories, flickering like flame. Kaeli reached toward it, and the mirror became a window. She saw herself, as a child, alone in a tank, surrounded by engineers. Senya stood at the observation deck, hands folded. She was mine, the real Senya said through Kaeli's mind. A prototype. Born of Astra's legacy. We never meant for her to escape. We only meant for her to learn. I grabbed Kaeli's shoulder. This is a trap. We have to move. Kaeli didn't look away. She called me a bridge, Kaeli whispered. But a bridge to what? That's what we need to find out, outside this grid, I said. Where her voice can't reach you. Jeren suddenly raised his weapon. Drones. Rear flank. 5 minutes. Kaeli turned away from the mirror. The glow in her eyes dimmed. The vision faded. All right, she said. Let's burn a hole through the sky. We ran. Again, but something was different now. Kaeli didn't stumble, she didn't hesitate, and when the first of Senya's hunter-class units came into view, sleek, fast, armored like wolves, Kaeli stepped forward alone. Her hands rose, the tunnel shook, electricity arced from her body, slamming the drones into the walls with bone-snapping force. Their shells sparked and burst. She turned to me. I'm done hiding.